for various reasons, which is problematic. And no one seems to want to do anything about it here. I mean, when I ran that program, it was so obvious. I mean, they were so blatant about what they were doing. There was an espionage case I had involving an Israeli and an Air Force civilian. This is years ago. And it was funny because it was a solid case where we had evidence showing that this individual was taking and providing the Israeli intelligence officer with classified material. But for some reason, when I started looking into the case, we found out that we couldn't use any of the evidence because someone had destroyed the evidence. So when I got down to the area where this was occurring, and I went to the local the FBI office down in that area, and then it was a joint Air Force OSI investigation too. The OSI headquarters guy from D.C. went down there with me, and we were shocked. The evidence that they gathered, they had no chain of custody on. They just threw it in the closet. It was almost as if they wanted it just to fail. They didn't want it to go further. They didn't want it to get to a point where it was going to become, public, that there was going to be arrests made, because it was going to cause bad press.
And, John, did you ever see the outlines of a policy or some explicit agreements with Israel that if we find one of your people spying on our country, this is how we'll handle it?
Well, I never really seen anything in writing in regards to that. What I was going by was the Attorney General guidelines on espionage. If you're committing espionage, if you're doing what you're not supposed to be doing here, and that goes with anybody, any intelligence organization, an intelligence officer coming into the United States is supposed to declare himself, by our laws, he's supposed to declare himself as an intelligence officer, and he's supposed to, he or she, whoever it is supposed to tell us exactly what they're planning on doing in the U.S., and we have to agree to it or not agree to it. And that's not, of course, spying against us. But the thing is that if we catch them spying on us, then we normally, if it's a I.O., we normally wind up sending a letter into the State Department, and then normally they're PNG'd out of the country. That's how that normally works.
And that stands for persona non grata?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kick them out of the country, and they can't come back. That's how that normally works. And nothing is pretty much kept quiet. No one really knows what's going on. The American public doesn't know that, like 2 Israelis got PNG out of the country, for example.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make that public normally, and everything's kind of quieted down. The only time it becomes public is when there's a U.S. person involved in an espionage case, and that person is arrested. Then normally it becomes public, and then the public says, oh, my God, this guy was spying for Israel or spying for, whoever, Russia or whatever, whoever it might be. And there's a lot of hype about it, we need better security, we need this, we need that. And, of course, then they come out and say, we're going to take care of that. We've made, adjustments so that we can catch these guys and we can do this, and this ain't going to happen again. But it continues to go on.
Mm-hmm.
What's sad about it is it's not the IOs, the intelligence officers that we know that are out there, because we know who they are. I mean, the U.S. government knows who the intelligence officers are that come into the United States. I mean, we have a very good idea of everyone that comes in here, if they're an intelligence officer or a known or suspected intelligence officer. What we don't know is the insiders, the people that work inside the government that are working for these governments also. And that's my biggest fear.
Mm-hmm. Now, John, one of the issues that surfaced with James Bamford, he's the expert on the NSA, who was our guest on the very first Boiling Frogs interview in this series. He revealed that 2 key pieces of equipment that are used in the massive interception of our domestic communications were made by companies that are Israeli-based, Narus and Verint. And this was also confirmed by the former AT&T technician Mark Klein, who exposed the wiretap room on Folsom Street here in San Francisco. And these devices are high-tech sorters. They go through the huge volume of emails and phone calls that are going through these fiber optic switches, and they sort through looking for keywords. And what Bamford reported is that one of these companies maintained what is known as a back door, and that they were able to access this information independent of our illegal wiretapping operation, and that this was exposed when, I believe, the government of Australia bought one of these boxes, or maybe a bunch of them, and were using them for their monitoring of telecommunications. Do you have any concerns that if Israel has been busy, pardon me, with these ongoing and what appear to be rather comprehensive efforts to get our secret information for their own use, do you have any problem going to Israeli vendors with ties to their equivalent of the NSA and buying equipment used to spy on Americans?
I have a lot of concern about that. Yes, I do. And that should never happen. That should never happen. Unfortunately, it happens, I think, more often than we know. I mean, that's just one case that we found out about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I'm sure there's other cases out there. In fact, I mean, I'm almost positive, let's put it that way, that has occurred before and is still occurring now, and it does cause me a lot of concern.
John, you talked about notifying the State Department and going through that channel when we come across, or the FBI comes across, these espionage cases, these spies. But then we have cases where we identify the spy in our government to be the person that you actually end up notifying on these espionage cases. And you know what I'm talking about, because
yes, I do.
You and I both know about the spy within the State Department that FBI has known about for more than a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And that person who was named recently by Phil Giraldi in an article, Mark Grossman, he happened to be the person who would get the notification, and this is for our listeners, when the FBI would come across, in certain embassies, whether Israel or Turkish embassy, across espionage cases. He's the one who would be asked to do something about, while he himself was the target of espionage investigation.
And let's be just a little more specific for people who are coming across Mark Grossman for the first time. He was our ambassador to Turkey during the Clinton administration, and then he returned to Washington, where he had a very high-level State Department post. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead, John.
Well, no, Sybil, you're absolutely right. I mean, most of the FBI, when we run investigations on a foreign intelligence officer or any foreign entity that is involved with a foreign government, then what we normally do is we send a letter into the State Department telling them that we're investigating this individual or this entity. And it may not be the individual itself. It could be an organization, a foreign organization.
Right, such as, let's say, AIPAC, or correct.
Exactly. So that the State Department is aware in case something happens and there's an international incident that occurs from that. So, yes, the State Department knows of every investigation involving a foreign national, a foreign intelligence officer, or somebody working for the state, a diplomat, a foreign business or organization. They know about that ahead of time. So yes, they are fully aware of what's going on.
And so they will be very, very valuable for recruitment for foreign agents for foreign countries, because if you have the person in the State Department in that position, then you have access to all the open investigations on your own agents in that country being U.S.
That's correct.